I think I always made the comment that once a miller, always a miller.
Ravel, ambitious, but brilliant! I don't believe it! I swear I do not believe it! Good heavens, he's done it again! Another promotion for the big man.
I've got 12 bottles of champagne in my office and we're going to drink them all night.
Do me a favour, drop me off in Rotherham.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to New York Talk. This is the Rotherham United podcast. Thank you all for being with us as we look ahead to the South Yorkshire derby, probably the only meaningful game we have left this season against Barnsley, who are in as bad a form as we are, to be honest with you. So this could prove to be a terrible, terrible game of football on Saturday. But we're going to preview that. We're going to talk about that. We'll talk about the pre-match press from Evans today. We'll talk about the Paul Davis interview with Paul Douglas and the little bits that come out of that as well. And we'll update the prediction league because two people got some correct results last week, so there's been a bit of movement. But Mickey's back. How are we doing, Mick?
All good, mate. Thank you. You?
Very, very good. Thank you very much. And Tom's back. How you doing, Tom?
Yeah, good. Disappointed I didn't get any points, but you know, it happens.
No, it happens. You're gonna have some bad weeks, you know. But you're still in with a title chance, definitely.
I know.
YouTube viewers with us, as is Martin Holland and Terry Fembry. Here we go again. Hi all. Good evening, says Craig. Richard says, evening all. Anybody out of breath from watching training? Evening all from Steve and Chris Tether. Martin Rushworth says, the question everybody wants to ask, was Mick at training today? Were you at the open training session?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. No.
Did you get football signed?
Say again.
Did you take a football to get signed?
Yeah. There's nobody there who wants to sign it, so you know. No, I wasn't.
Okay.
And conscious to popular belief, I have actually got a life. Not much of one, but it doesn't involve going to watch them training. It's bad enough watching them play. I mean, there's never going to be any end result watching them train, is there? I mean, I know there's no end result watching them play either, really, when I think about it. But yeah, no, I didn't go.
Okay.
I apologise. I'm. For the dereliction of my duties.
Yeah, it looks like people had a fun time. The people who it was meant for, which is the kids, it looks like everybody had a good time getting all their stuff signed. So hopefully, we did have a good time. Met the players. Yeah, it sounds like it went well. That's all I can. That's all we can add to it, which is good. Right, let's just start with the Paul Davis article with Paul Douglas because I don't know what we've got to say about it, to be honest with you. But what I'm going to do is read through the quotes from Paul Douglas because I think that's the easiest thing we can do, and then we can kind of refer back in a moment. Although Terry Fembry with big news, Terry Fembry says not football, but so mini Terry's eggs in the middle of the SMM are available. There you go, Mick. There's your next thing. By the way, I was on the York White Rose Rivals. I was telling them all about the Terry's chocolate orange filled eggs, and they couldn't believe it. So they've got two.
I've got two left.
So they won't be able to find anything, will they? Because you've had them all.
I think they've probably manufactured more than two. I would imagine. Well, I know they have because I've eaten two already. So, yeah.
Anyway, that's chocolate chat over for now. Right, anyway, so these are quotes from Paul Douglas to Paul Davis. I'll go through them now. So he says, I can tell you that Chairman this year has spent more on the squad than he has ever on a League One squad before, and by a considerable amount. Our position in the division isn't a result of battening down the hatches and thinking, let's consolidate. Tony Stewart has taken a typically bullish approach to the season and supported Steve and Rob in the players that we have selected in the summer. We've had a very busy period, which 14 signings come in. That's a huge churn of players. For any manager, that's a difficult situation to manage in terms of blending new faces and making sure you have the right chemistry. It was never going to be an easy transition, and we are in a transition. It was a hard task in the first half of the season. That's been clear. That really is the story of the season and of the January transfer window. It was felt that another big influx of players wasn't going to be the right answer. We were starting to see an improvement in results early in the month. It was felt the players we went forward strengthened the side. There were one or two others we were looking at, but unable to make those deals happen. That was because the parent club in the end decided against letting their players letting players, or there were other clubs who came in and beat us to it. There are, I should say, I think in the article it says there is more to come from that as well. There is more to come from Paul Davis. I think Paul Davis said that Paul Douglas, there's more to come from that. There's too many Pauls going around, to be honest with you. But Mick, so again, we should also clarify that Paul Davis did ask for Tony Stewart to speak to, but they sent Paul Douglas instead. He runs the club, I suppose, maybe more day to day than Tony Stewart, to be honest with you. But Mick, the intentions are there, but it's just a bit of nothing really. And I suppose, what should we have expected?
Yeah, I mean, the club themselves find themselves in a really difficult PR position at the moment. Really difficult, because they can't come out publicly and say that this season's been a disaster as to what, in relation to what we anticipated it was going to be. They can't do that, and I suppose it's semantics really as to whether you would describe it as a disaster or not. I personally would, others may not. So it's when you're looking at interviews with the press from people from the club, it's just another version of the fans forum, and you're just going to get the usual sort of not really saying a great deal. We've had this about the biggest playing budget in League One ever. Yeah, I accept that. That's fine. I understand that. That might be the case. That clearly is the case. That's certainly the line that they're giving us. That has clearly been a failure, whichever way you look at that, because we're not anywhere near in the position in the league. But that's not necessarily about budget, is it?
No,
well, it's not about budget. It's simply not about budget. It's about how we play football on the football pitch, and that's not been good enough. It does feel a little bit to me like there's a little bit of shifting of the blame. Well, I'm going to know. Shifting of the blame onto Rob Scott and Steve Evans.
I agree.
However, the blame sits fairly and squarely in that department. The performances on the pitch. I don't think it is actually really shifting the blame. The blame does sit there. I think we can all accept that. Probably, I'll rephrase it. In my opinion, the blame sits there. And I don't necessarily, and I think, in my view, again, it doesn't necessarily sit too much on the shoulders of Rob Scott. He only does, if he's doing his job properly, he only does what the manager asks of him in terms of the type of player that he tries to identify. So, yeah, I mean, ultimately, for me, it's just the club trying to placate fans because there's a lot of discontent, and which I understand. That's what they should be doing. Unfortunately, it doesn't feel like we're going to get the whole truth. We're never going to get the whole truth anyway, are we? But we can see what the issues are. It's clear to everybody that the performances on the pitch have nowhere near been even close to up to scratch. And that, for me, sits fairly and squarely with Steve Evans and Paul Rayner. Absolutely. I don't see how you can blame anybody else. I'm not suggesting that everybody else is blameless, but ultimately the buck stops with the manager and his assistant and the players on the pitch and what they ask of the players on the pitch. And what they've done is not acceptable. It's not up to scratch. It's not even close to being up to scratch.
No.
So, yeah, there are issues. Yeah, we could have perhaps recruited better. Again, a lot of the blame for that lies with the manager. If that money, if it's the biggest playing budget we've had in this division, then they should have recruited better. And if they haven't recruited better, that's down to the manager and the person who he's asking to get the players, which is Rob Scott. But ultimately, the manager identifies the type of player he wants, and I would imagine, in the case of people like Johnson Clark Harris, who we want specifically. So it tells us nothing. It tells us nothing really. other than the chairman did appoint Steve Evans, having had a paddy about it for 6, 9 months, 12 months, whatever that period was. He was the one that made that decision quite clearly. And looking at the debacle with Liam Richardson, it was clearly against the better wishes of the board, the rest of the board. So, yeah, pick from that what you want, but the position we're in the league is down purely and simply to Everton and Rayner, as far as I'm concerned. The position we're in overall, arguably, is down to Tony Stewart's decision making in terms of his managerial appointments and those managerial appointments. I think the club's never going to say that, are they? We're never going to get anything like that out of the club. But I think that is probably the reality closer to the reality of the situation as I see it.
Okay, fair enough. We've got people in the comments. Chris says they can smell BS from Greensborough. Richard says the same. Sam says so it's a complete and utter mess, utter mismanagement, from top to bottom. Harry saying it's fine telling us that you spent the most in League One for us, but where did the money go from player sales? Nearly £3 million.
I don't think those two things are mutually exclusive, are they? I don't think they're saying that, Tony Stewart's put £3 million, £2 million in whatever to bolster this playing squad. That's probably where the money's gone.
Yeah, but the implication is that Tony's gone for it. That's the implication from those words. Yeah. Now, if he hasn't, and the money's come from the £3 million, then what you say is, well, we got this £3 million and we've been able to have the biggest budget because we've sold these players for £3 million. You don't go, Tony's pushed the boat out, because he hasn't, has he?
Well, we don't know, do we? We don't know.
Well, but exactly, that's the point.
You don't know that he didn't put £4 million of his own money in last season to try and keep us up. So, in which case he has, because he's still £4 million down, £1 million down, whatever it is. Yeah. So the where the money comes from and goes to is not necessarily the point here, I don't think.
The thing is, that's the big question. Current fans are asking is, we know we've brought in money because we can see the money, but we now don't know where the money's gone. Well, the club
is saying fairly and squarely where the money's gone.
Well, they're not. They're saying Tony's invested money.
Well, yeah. The club have. He's not specifically saying Tony Stewart has. He's saying he's backed the manager, and the manager's got a playing squad with the biggest budget we've ever had in this division. Yeah. That money's got to come from somewhere, and that money's come from the player sales.
Fair enough. Tom, would you like to weigh in on this?
Yeah, and I mean, touching on the side of is it truthful or not is fine, but I think even if it is truthful and you just take them at their word, I think I still don't think it's good, because you're looking at this being the highest paid squad that you've had in ever. It's not the best squad we've ever had, and not by a long shot. And even if players such as, and I'll name a few who were below expectations, but Kelly, Clark-Harris, Raggett, all these big names that came through in the summer, the marquee signings, so to say, none of them have come off. They're all the wrong age of 30. It's such a short-term strategy. So this transitioning thing doesn't make any sense to me, because I don't understand what you're transitioning. I mean, we've spoke a lot about the average age of the squad's gone up, which is something that was agreed wouldn't. And for a while, we didn't think was possible as fans. It's somehow managed to still go up. It's taken such a short-term approach that's so bad. I mean, if you're going to invest the most money that you've ever invested in a squad, invest it in a long-term project. As if the squad of 5 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever, had the money that we had now, those players would be still here and being improved upon time and time again. And that's the sort of principle you need to take. For me, it's such a, and this is taking it at face value, right? Because I agree with Mick. I think a lot of it isn't going to be completely true. What money we've got, we've put into these really old assets and really just like players that really aren't fulfilling what they should fulfill. And inevitably has left us in a situation where for the first time in maybe, I don't know, 7-8 years, we won't be getting a sum. We won't be getting a fee for going up. We won't be getting a fee for going down, or TV for a season, or this, that, and the other. This will be our lowest grossing year ever, not ever, lowest grossing year since, the start of the yo-yo years, if you want to go like that. So it's not like we've got any sort of investments to tie back to. And as we keep saying, we're 16 months off or something, maybe a bit more, 18 months off, not having an entire squad because they've all gone, because there's no contract extensions, there's no room there's no wiggle room. All the squad that we have now will be gone in summer 2026. If that's a transition, then I'm really worried, because I've got no clue what it is that we're transitioning from, number one, or what it is that we're transitioning to, because this is such a short-term approach, as in, look, let's just try and get up this season. Let's sign Kelly, Championship, Coventry, whatever, Clark Harris, whatever, Raggett, whatever. Let's sign all these big name players for League One. This is relative, big name players, and hope that they get us up at the first time of asking, and then we'll go from there. Now we're left dead in the water, mid-table. You're not looking at any sort of income there. You've not got any youth players to promote. Looks like we're going to lose Harrison Duncan on pennies. It's like this structure. We speak about it a lot. This structure, it's non-existent. There's no structure. There's no long-term plan. There's no plan about going past this season. So come 2025 summer, where we've got a window to operate in, I don't think there's any plan for it, because they don't know what they're doing. They don't know where they're going. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know who the manager will be. They don't know where the training. It's a mess. And that's, again, taking it at face value, which, as we've discussed, probably isn't all true.
No, absolutely. Steve says, we're not in transition. We need another couple. We'll come on to the transition in a minute. Mike asked when the accounts were set to be published. To be pretty soon, obviously within the next month or so, that they're expected to be. Will that be up until last summer? Well, should be, shouldn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
so that'll be.
It won't take into account this season. It'll take into account whatever losses were made last season, I assume.
Yeah, which we're expected to be relatively substantial compared to previous seasons.
And don't forget, those losses have got to be financed from somewhere.
Yeah.
And at the moment, they're either financed from Tony Stewart's pocket or from player sales, because they ain't financed from day-to-day income from the football club.
They aren't. No, you're right. But if that's the case, if he needs to take his money back to an extent, that's fine. You can't come out and say that Tony's gone for it.
Can you imagine the PR disaster that would be?
I think people appreciate that more than he's going for it, and we've gone for it.
Well,
I think. I don't know. I might be completely off, and if I'm off, that's fine. But
they're spinning the highest budget we're playing for players this season in League One that we've ever done as being going for it, and you could argue that might be the case, but it's very, very easy to say Tony Stewart should put more money in. Tony Stewart should pay this. He should pay that. It's very, very easy to say that from a position where you haven't got to do it yourself.
Yeah.
And if we all said, right, well, that's fine. Every single supporter needs to put £1,000 of their own money into this football club tomorrow or next week and next month, and you've got to do it. Then they'll be all hell to pay. It's our club. It's our club, and what we're asking Tony Stewart to do, or what some people are asking him to do, is to spend the money that he's spent the last 50 odd years accruing and earning and through damned hard work, just to spaff that up against the wall in the hope that we might get promoted. And then when we do get promoted, ask him to spaff some more up against the wall to keep us up. So that's one side of that argument. And an unfair one, in my view.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I also think but have it on the opposite side to that, he can't come out every summer and play Billy Big Boy. And then expect some sympathy. You can't talk like he doesn't expect sympathy.
I'm not sympathetic towards him particularly. I'm just trying to put forward the other side of the argument, because, we'll come on to it in a minute.
Well, let's talk about the fact we're in transition, Mick. I think it's a buzzword, transition. As somebody said to me earlier that Everton have been in transition for about 15 years, and you only say you're in transition when things aren't going very well, and things are not going very well. I think the idea that you're in transition works, Mick, if you have a clear, set out journey and plan for the football club. So if you say, right, we are going to focus completely on youth over the next 4 or 5 years, or we are going to spend 10 million quid over the next 2 years, and we're going to kind of try and buy low, sell high, that kind of thing. If you've got that identity, then transition is works. It makes sense. When you bring in Steve Evans, who is a man who in theory should bring you instant success, the transition is not a word. Steve Evans and transition don't go together for me. Now, I'm being harsh on Steve Evans, but I don't think he's ever built a team over more than a season. So I don't get the transition thing. It doesn't marry up to what I'm seeing on the pitch. And Tom mentioned all the 30-plus-year-olds we've already signed. What are we transitioning to here? I don't get it.
I mean, you've covered it all there, haven't you? It's just nonsense. And it is nonsense. We weren't in transition at the beginning of the season.
No, we weren't.
You know, we were absolutely going to be up for it. We were going to be challenging for playoffs, challenging for automatics, blah, de, blah, de, blah, de, blah, de, blah. So we're only now in transition because it's been an absolute show of a season. We have no plan. There is no long-term plan that any of us are aware of. The board may have a long-term plan. Yeah. They may do. They've certainly not told that to anybody outside the club that I'm aware of. So we're not trying. It's just that's just nonsense. That is nonsense, and it's just trying to paper over the cracks that are clearly there, given the situation we're in this season. Yeah, you know, if we'd still got Paul Warne here, then things may be different. I don't know, but then you could argue that we'd been in transition over the last 2 or 3 seasons because we were doing exactly what you just alluded to there in trying to bring young players through and get them on contracts. Paul Warne goes, and we just let them all run out. So, yeah, I mean, the rot started for me, and I'm not saying that Paul Warne was the best manager we've ever had or would have taken us any further than he actually did. I think at the time, when he went, I said he'd reached the level that his capabilities are, and that's sort of lower end at Championship. However, from the moment that he left this football club, when the chairman decided to take his 2 Terry's chocolate orange eggs from Derby County in payment, that was the point at which any planning for the future seemed to go out the window. Tried initially with Matt Taylor, but we lost our bottle. For whatever, and then some of the performances were dreadful. They were awful under Matt Taylor. I'm not convinced, given his performances subsequent to leaving us, he really had any massive idea as to where he wanted to take the football club. Paul Warne did. If he had anything, he had a plan. It may not have been a plan that people wanted to see, and the the performances on the pitch may not at times have been what people wanted to see, but he had a plan. He had a clear plan and identity for the football club, and it showed through week in, week out. The moment that Tony Stewart took the money when Derby offered it was the moment that it went wrong, and the decision-making process from that time onwards at board level has been knee-jerk on each occasion when the major decisions have had to be made, and the last knee-jerk decision in bringing Evans in was the nail that put the nail in this season's coffin, if you like. And there is no transition at no point since Paul Warne left, or Matt Taylor, arguably. At no point from that point onwards has this club been in transition. It's been firefighting, is what we've been doing. Firefighting, trying to stay in the Championship. At the end of that season, the manager got his own. The chairman had got his own way, got the manager he wanted. We were full of bluster. We were full of this. We were full of the other. And now we find ourselves as mid-table can be, with performances that arguably don't deserve to be outside the bottom 4. and on another season wouldn't be outside the bottom 4. So transition is just nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. We're in a mess.
Yeah.
But all the things that Tom said there in terms of what have we got in terms of saleable assets? Nothing. We haven't got anything really, and it's really worrying. It's really disappointing that we've said it many times. You know, from the position we were in when Paul Warne was on top to Derby to where we are now is just light years away, and the identity has been ripped out of the club by a succession of really poor decisions, and compounded by the fact that there's been very little of any sense coming out of the club. Just usual. Yeah, we're going for it. Yeah, we've got big budget. Yeah, we're backing the manager. Yeah, we're doing this, and we can all see on the pitch that it's just woeful. It's dreadful.
Yeah, and you've got to assume next season's not going to be as big budget wise. So if this is what we're doing, the biggest budget we've ever had.
Well, I mean, where we're going to get players from?
Exactly. Yeah. Matt Miller said, I don't remember Steve Evans walking through a door last year saying we're in a period of transition and we'll all be patient. Steve Evans was reading from Dickens' Book of Great Expectations, which is very well put. Steve says it's not the Tunisia investment that bothers me. It's lack of developing the ground, the match day experience, having to train a non-league ground for years, no director of football or just a 3-year plan. Harry says if you had to put the blame, where would the blame go? I think there's plenty to go around, isn't there?
Yeah, I don't think it's quite that simple, is it? I think it's like I said, it's a catalogue of poor decision making, probably at all levels, really. And nobody's grabbed it by the balls, have they? Nobody at any point has grabbed this club by the balls and said, right, this is what we need to do.
Well, Warney did, though.
What Warney did. Let me rephrase that. Since Paul Warne left. And I feel now like when I'm going to get nonsense on Twitter tomorrow about the fact that it's a Paul Warne loving, which is not. That's absolutely not the case whatsoever, you know. But if I can't imagine an argument that anybody could put that would say that it could have been any worse than what it is now, with looking to the future as well, looking to the future in mind as well.
Yeah, like I said, apparently there's more to come from that, Tom. Is there anything that you would like to? Is there anything you think that realistically that you could hear or read that would kind of placate you in terms of that, or do you think you're expecting kind of similar sort of things?
You mean like further, like this sort of going to release more stuff from Douglas?
Yeah, that's what I took from it. There's more to come.
Yeah. Just any sort of even evidence of a plan, because there's not been evidence since Evans came in, really. Even before that, I mean, Richardson kind of hinted that he wanted this. It needed to be sort of torn in and looked internally and sort of torn in from the inside out, which never came about, obviously. But since Evans came in, it was always about, let's get playoffs this season. And in his article, not that I read it much, I just read it for this, but he mentioned that top 6 is way off now. And it's like, well, what are they playing for? And the question was posed to Rafferty. He didn't really have an answer. It's just sort of, it's a null and void season from now on in. And we're in end of Feb, which is really, for a football fan, really, really disappointing. We had the same last season, but for very, very different reasons this time last season. But just any sort of evidence that of even an ounce of accountability, an ounce of sort of responsibility within the club. I think the director of football was such a good idea and got immediately shot down for one reason or another. It's just grown men playing games, really. It feels not one of them wants to take an ounce of responsibility or accountability, or no one's saying it's their fault, it's someone else's. And it's just this merry-go-round of fans never figuring out what's going on, because the club themselves don't know what's going on, which is why I sometimes I understand when they don't come out with any truth behind what they're saying, because they don't know the truth. They don't know what's going on. So why would they tell us one thing if the next week it's going to be something different? If they could come out with any sort of inch of a plan, even in the next 2 years, I'd take it. Every club needs a 5-year ideal plan, and none of this crap that Stuart gives about Premier League in whatever many years, because that's just trying to appease fans, and it's not true. It's just, it truly feels like the sort of soul of the club has really been ripped out since Taylor left. And that's not saying that Taylor, the times under Taylor were good. It's just since that point in particular, it's just been completely null and void. And although I watch games, I don't have as much weight behind what happens in it, which is, from a stress and blood pressure perspective, I'm sure I'm doing amazing. But, it's in every other regard, it's not as, there's that lack of enthusiasm from fans, players, manager, boardroom. Nobody seems as bothered as they did 3 years ago. So if we can somehow get an ounce of turn this around in the next 3 years, that's all that you can really ask. But will we ever get any idea of the plan? No, because they don't have any idea of the plan. And the fact that Tony Stewart didn't do the interview with the advertiser, I think, speaks more volumes than we've even addressed on here, because the fact that he refused, which, don't get me wrong, he might have refused in the past, but it always seems like he wants to blow his own trumpet whenever he gets the opportunity to. The fact he hasn't, to me, it's just that sincere lack of passion and sincere lack of, I'll say care, but I still think he cares. Just that sincere lack of, same as us, just soul ripped.
I wonder, and I have nothing to back this up with, I wonder if he was persuaded not to do it. Because whenever Tony Stewart talks, he always makes things worse.
Yeah.
So I wonder if maybe it was a club decision not to send Tony Stewart. And again, that's a guess. That's pure speculation. But based on last few times that Tony Stewart spoke in public, that there might have been a change in plan with that. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I might be giving too much credit there.
No, it's not a bad shout. It could it could definitely be a case of that, because they know that in the past he said stuff that is truly awful. Not not like bad, but like truly just makes everything worse. So yeah, I completely understand what you mean.
Yeah. Because they said we need a 3 or 5 year plan from Tony Stewart, and we will follow it. Yeah. Not to go too much further into it, but if you read the rumours of what the club tell us, Evans left last time because of a dispute on transfers and how transfers are going to go going forward. If you want a 3 to 5 year plan, Evans is not the guy. Evans is the guy who does go from window to window and tries to take this out, put this in, change 7 players in the summer. That's the kind of manager he is. You can't do a 3 to 5 year plan with Steve Evans as your manager. It just don't work. I don't think.
At what point in any walk of life is that sustainable?
Well, he's made a career out of it. At lower level, at League 1 to League 2 level.
I'm not talking about for him.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about for our club or any club.
Okay.
It's not about the manager. It doesn't matter who the manager is. That's it. That's irrelevant. Whether it's Pep or whether it's Evans or whether it's David Moyes or whoever it is, it's irrelevant. But the point is, for the club that manager is at, how is that kind of behaviour, performance sustainable? It's not.
Yeah.
It can never be sustainable. What I would say is, I was just thinking while Tom was talking there, when we go back, if you go back and watch the podcast we had during that ridiculous 4 or 5 week period when we were managerless, I think despite the amount of time that we gave to that subject at the time, we massively underestimated the impact that period of time had on this football club. That I think, and I've nothing to back this up at all whatsoever, but there was a lot of infighting in the club at that point in relation to who the manager should be, and the chairman lost out. He wanted Evans. Again, this is my opinion. I'm not saying this is fact. It's just my opinion. He wanted Evans. He didn't get him, and I think he took his bat and ball on to a certain degree. And from the information that I've heard in relation to the way he treated Liam Richardson, I mean, it's just appalling. So I think the significance of that period of time should not be underestimated, because that was a catalyst, I think, for where we find ourselves now, with a manager who is just not cutting the mustard at all, and a team that is just not performing to its capabilities, not even close to its capabilities.
No.
And everything else we just said there about long-term planning, that was a catalyst for it for me.
Yeah, I think that's a fair shout. Let's kind of move on to the modern day football. Let's move into football. With the worst midweek fixtures, Tom, and that's spread the league now with 15 points off the playoffs, 9 points of the relegation zone. Now we won't get dragged into a relegation zone, but one of you mentioned a minute ago about in another season we could have been in bottom 4. Can you imagine if we didn't have Malik Wilks with some important moments that he's scored and the difference that Malik Wilks has made this season in close games? We could literally be in the relegation zone without Malik Wilks, which none of us saw coming in August, if I'm honest with you. But Tom, are we officially saying season over? 15 points. That's what we got games left. We've got 15 games left. You'd need to win like 12 of them to gain playoffs, realistically. It's done,
so yeah, we're saying season over.
I think even Mr. Positive over here, I just can't see it. You need to win loads of games of football. I just don't think it's possible. It's obviously possible, but
you need to be consistent, and we're not. And if last 2 games we were having a bit of consistency, and don't get me wrong, like Reading second half wasn't a bad performance, but first half was awful, and that's literally been the case all season. You'll get moments of we look like a decent team, we look like we could beat anyone in this league, and I genuinely mean that. There's been times in that little purple patch we had just after the new year where you thought if we play like that, the Charlton Bolton games, that we'd beat most of the teams in the division. And then you have other games like Burton and specific times at Cambridge where you just think, how could it be that bad? I think you said earlier, Mick, we're in a mid-table position with not playing football outside the bottom 4. Like we don't. It's a weird and again, without Malik Wilks, without certain other defining moments in the season, we would be in a relegation fight with teams that probably be more up for it. So yeah, we could definitely be in a different situation, but yeah, there's nothing left for this season for me now. And I think I think fans know it. I think fans are turning up less. I think players know it. Players don't seem to be as fighting as much as other players in other teams. For me, it's just, it's null and void, which is, it happens in a season. We've not had it happen for a while. If this was completely different scenario where we're building up a young squad, you've got some good players making progress under an ambitious manager, who is likable, you'd probably argue that this is really, really good for a transition. However, it's not anywhere near that. It's full of old journeymen who are just trying to get by with a paycheck, and it doesn't really suffice for a club of where we want to be. But look, we've been punching above our weight for the last 10 years or so. So maybe it's time for a bit of a humbling, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose. So if you would do the maths, we're on 38 points. Realistically, somewhere around 74. Somewhere between 74 and 80 is what you need to get the playoffs. If we won 12 out of the 15 games left, you'd get to 74 points. We haven't won 12 games all season. So I think I like to be positive, Mick. And I've really, really tried to be positive about a chance of the playoff this season. But I think even Evans can't come out and say we can't get playoffs. He just can't. So I'm not digging Evans out for that side of things. If he comes out and says, "We've got no chance at playoffs in February," he's out of a job probably. But we are. Can you Give me anything to live off. What are these next 3 months about? If they're not about playoffs, what are they about these next 2.5 months?
That's a really good question. They're certainly not about playoff. Not been about playoff for a long time. You know, it's once that slight improvement in performance has dropped off after January, that was the end of that. I think had that continued, then it'd be a different matter altogether in this league the way it is at the moment. But the performances are just nowhere near. And yeah, we might have a decent run and win 3 or 4 on trot. We might do. It's possible, given how crap this league is at the moment. I'll be amazed if we do. I'll be really, really surprised. No, I've got nothing, mate. I've got nothing. I'm still kind of partially looking over my shoulder because I wouldn't be surprised if we went on a run of losing 3 or 4. I wouldn't be surprised at all. So I'm not. And we're on 38 points. We've not hit 50 yet. So 50 points has got to be all that we've got to look forward to, I think, this season. And I genuinely, I agree with what Tom said there. You know, we have been spoiled. We have been spoiled over the last 12 years, which was started by Steve Evans. Let me put that in straight away. You know, the rise was started by Steve Evans, and in that 2012 season. So, we should all, I suppose, be forever thankful for that. But it's almost as though it's going to go full circle. I mean, I appreciate it's probably not, and he's not going to leave us back where he found us in League Two, but not far off. Certainly, in terms of the level of football that we're playing, he's leaving us exactly where he found us because it's the same. It's the same dross that we put up with in League Two. Pre Evans, as well as post when he came back. So no, the season's dead and buried. The season is dead and buried, and we have to hope that 50 points is the only target that we've got to look forward to this season.
Yeah, Matt Lewis spoke of clubby authentic. New York talk has to be authentic. The fans are no mugs, and most of us saw very early on that playoffs were a fantasy. Whenever you're 7 points off playoffs, it's not a fantasy for me. Well, was it post Charlton when we would have been top of the table without that late consolation goal? We're 7 points off the playoffs. We were playing really, really well. That was the moment where I kind of think, okay, this is it. I genuinely thought we were going to win with a shout at the playoffs. And if you brought in the right type of player over the last week of the window, we'd be in a better position now than we actually are. I think that window's hurt us significantly. But anyway, South Yorkshire Derby this weekend, Tom. Barnsley coming into a really, really poor run of form, as well as us. It is literally the only exciting game we've got left. Some people might say Wrexham away, but whatever. But Barnsley at home is the only game, and we need some revenge based on how bad it was at Oakwell back in that horrible, horrible Friday in November.
Yeah, definitely. Revenge, pride. There's a lot of stuff on the line. Honestly, do you think that they'll turn up?
Us?
No, the players. Do you reckon that matters to them? Because this is something I've been tossing and turning with, because this whole fans getting behind it because it's a derby and the whole reverse fixture is massive, and as a player that should really motivate you. But it just seems so dejected. First time in a long time I've listened to the pre-match amble, sort of the pre-match interviews, and because they weren't on a Friday, and it didn't feel like there was any intensity, any enjoyment.
I think we're flat, wasn't it? I thought we were really flat.
It was like we were playing bottom of the league on the last day of the season for enough, not even bottom of the league. It's like you're playing a place below you on the last game of the season. Like nobody cared. He just sort of ran through who was injured, who wasn't, what was happening with them, and then done and dusted, and made some remark about crying in the reverse fixture, and then moved on, which was really bizarre. But to me, it's just the players don't. Honestly, it's to me it's any old game, because it will be any old game. It's two teams that are just flat. It's two teams that seem like the players aren't really well, I'll speak from our side. It seems like the players aren't really bothered. Nothing to play for yet this season. Do I think the players will turn up? No. Am I bothered about not watching it? Not really. Well, I'll still probably watch it, but it's just, it's other people might be really excited about it, and fair enough if you are. I understand why, but for me personally, this is as dead and buried as it gets in a season for me. A game where the one game that you should really be looking forward to in the run-in for another 3 months, and I'm sort of meh about it. It's just, for me, it kind of goes to show where I hope most fans are, and it's not just a unique thing for me. Yeah, I'm just, again, really flat. Interviews, really flat sort of team mentality, really flat team selection. It's just, it's just same old, I think. And it's not, I can see this being if it goes badly, I can see it going really badly, basically.
I am concerned about that. Yeah, Harry says, can we see him being sacked? Should we lose badly? I wouldn't put anything. It's impossible to predict, Nick, because we said a pre-Barnsley game in November. If things go badly wrong against Barnsley, I could see Evans losing his job. And things went really, really badly against Barnsley last time. So on the face of it, I go, he should be in trouble with his job in 15th place. And if he does lose badly at home to Barnsley, should be. But I can't. I don't think that'll be the case.
No, Tony Stewart's not sacking Steve Evans. It's just not happening, as far as I'm concerned. I might be wrong, and come 10 o'clock Sunday morning or Sunday night's podcast, we might be talking about new manager search. I can't see that happening under circumstances. To be honest, I just think I just can't. No matter what happens, if they bang 7 passes on Saturday, I just don't see Tony Stewart having any appetite to pull the trigger. That comes down to what Tom talked about earlier on about accountability and stuff. He's made a poor decision, and I don't believe that he's willing to take responsibility for that and deal with the fact that it's gone wrong. So I think Steve Evans will still be here at the end of the season, come what may. So I mean, as far as Saturday's concerned, Barnsley 10 points off playoffs, I think now. I suppose arguably they might be with a slim hope. I think if they lose on Saturday, then they're probably out of it as well. So they have got a little bit more to play for than we have. We've got nothing other than that 50 points. But I mean, I've not seen the interviews. I've not seen the pre-match stuff today. I've not had a chance to watch it. But as a manager, it shouldn't be flat. You should be having your team up for every game, no matter what the position, even if it's just for professional pride. And if the manager's feeling flat about it, then there has to be a reason for that, or coming across as feeling flat. Whether he is or not is another matter. But there has to be a reason for that. I don't know. I don't know what's happening, and frankly, I think I'm struggling to care. Genuinely struggling to care, which is a horrible place to be. But I've been there before many, many times with this football club. So I think we all have, to a greater or lesser degree. Maybe some of the younger supporters not so much, because we've always had something to scrap for, haven't we, for the last 12 years or so. But certainly people are a bit longer in tooth like me and Mike and a few others in comments there. We've been here before, we've seen it before, and we've all gone through periods of struggling to give a monkeys at what happens on a Saturday afternoon, and that's where I am at the moment. I should go down Saturday. If we win, I shall be happy, contrary to what some people think. Yeah. If we lose, I won't really care, because it won't have any impact on us. So it's just don't care.
Yes. Yeah, this will be the lowest. This will be the lowest finish since we got promoted from League Two in 2013, which was Steve Evans' first season. The first time we finish without being at least close to a playoff or relegation zone since the 2011-12 season, where we finished on. I haven't got the full table, but we finished 10th place. So only that would have been 3 places off the League Two's playoff at that time. So even that season, we were in with something. It wasn't a very good season, but you were still in with something relatively close to the end of the season. So This is the first time in a very, very long time where there's nothing on the season. Is what it is. It is what it is. Right. Bit of team news. Cam Humphreys has been ill, but Steve Evans seems to think he'll be okay. Liam Kelly was injured, then he was ill, so he doesn't think he'll be okay to play. Sean McWilliams is on grass or in full training, on Monday. So Sean McWilliams isn't playing, which is a blow because I was hoping he'd be ready for this weekend. But the two confirmations we have, Tom, are that Sean Raggett and Alex McDonald, are out for around a month. I did this right. So, and I feel I'm going to defend Sean Raggett here a little bit because he's come to us and it looks like he's always injured. Now, he was at Portsmouth for 5 seasons. Guess how many league matchday squads he missed? 4 or 6 games a season.
I did see this stat where he's averaged 50 games a season or something. Yeah. So I assume he's missed 3 or something.
He's missed 9 matchday squads in 5 years at Portsmouth. Now, some of those might have been suspensions. So not all of those 9s would have been missed through injury this season, honestly. It's unbelievable. But it's one of those things, Tom, and it's just unlucky. Or is he? Well, it might be choosing not to play through the pain, but it just feels like we've just been really unlucky with him this year.
Definitely, and I think the thing to say that he's come in as a crock is bad because he's not come in as anything. He's come in as a player that, as you say, hasn't missed 9 games in 5 years, which is incredible. But he's come in the wrong age of 30, and as soon as one injury happens, they mount up. And they mount up and they mount up and they mount up. And in that regard, I don't think it is as much of a surprise as you would have, thought previous, because although, his injury record coming into the season is fine, as soon as he took that bruised knee or whatever it was, he didn't run, he didn't play. And as soon as that happened, he stiffened up. Everything went wrong. And when you're on the wrong age of 30, those things catch up to you as a professional footballer, and you're not going to get fit. You're not going to, other injuries mount up. It's his other knee this time, which is just ridiculous because it's not even the same body part. It's obviously it's unlucky. And I think nobody can really complain about coming in his injury issues. But again, like I say, you take a risk when you sign older players, and not because they're injury prone naturally, but just because they take a longer time to heal and fully heal and fully get fit. So it is so unlucky, but at the same time it is, you sort of take the risk as it came, and we've never been good with injuries anyway, and it's sort of makes you want to look at Roundwood again. So who knows?
Yeah. Don't see you saying a Tom rant. I think for Tom that was a minor rant. I think so.
Really?
I don't think you rant, do you? You don't get angry like Nick does on me sometimes.
No.
Do I get angry? Yeah, I do actually. No, right.
We get a bit worked up.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Harry says, "Can we please call Raggett by his actual name, which is Grant Hall II?" Yeah. Alex McDonald's missing is a blow as well because he was good before his injury. Not as much as Sean McWilliams not being available till next week, but still, I think it is an issue. But Mick, we have 6 strikers available.
Yeah.
It's a shame we didn't get another one in window, isn't it? That 7th striker that we needed was.
Oh God. Yeah. This could be a Tom rant if you want to
go. Because it's just.
Anyway, I want to try and steer it towards a minor positive. What I think is a positive is that, yes, I know Jonathan Clark-Harris is fit, and I know Malik Wilkes is fit, but Jordan Hugill should be starting on Saturday afternoon. There shouldn't be a conversation about this. He had such an impact in the last 2 games, well, 2.5 games, if you call the Shrewsbury game. What I'm concerned about, and what I think will probably happen, is I think Clark-Harris will come in, and I think Wilkes will come in, and you'll go back to having 2 strikers and a 10 again. That's what I'm concerned about. But for me, there should be no question that Hugill should be starting.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. 100% agree with you. It's just, I could definitely see him dropping Hugill and bringing Clark-Harris in. Or I can see him dropping Nombe and bringing Clark Harris in and having Hugo and Clark Harris up there, which will just be, oh man.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, I don't need to imagine because we've seen it, haven't we? It's just we're back to kick it as hard as you can, lads. You know, I don't know. We'll wait and see. But I think Hugo should start definitely. I don't see any reason why Nombe shouldn't start. Wilkes could play out wide. You know, given that he's. I mean, I appreciate he's obviously not a wing. Oh no, Ray. Well, he is a winger, isn't he? So no. So we need to put him in number 10 position then in middle. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what he decides. But the fact that from Johnson Clark Harris's point of view, the fact that he's back fit is a good thing. From a team point of view, I'm not convinced it is a good thing. Because Evans is just he will play him. It doesn't matter how out of touch he is, out of form he is, out of fitness he is in terms of match fitness. That won't, I don't think, come into the manager's head. If he's fit enough to play, I think he'll play him usually, or he certainly has done at the beginning. You know, up until this last injury. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a difficult one. I could certainly see Hugo and Clark Harris starting.
Yeah,
but he's got the Wilkes issue, hasn't he?
Well, what happened? I didn't watch the Reading game when Clark Harris and Malik Wilkes came on last week. They moved Sam Nombe from a striker to a 10.
Yeah, that's right. So we moved the striker into a midfield position and put the midfielder that we brought on into the striking position. It makes perfect sense when you think about it.
Yeah. So, Tom, out of those, there's Andre Green's fit in there as well. Andre Green's more, for me, it's more the wing. I won't even call him a striker, to be honest, but he is there, Tom. What is your pick? Either 2 or 3, because he might just play one of them where Civil has been playing.
I'd go same too. I agree with you. I think it's. I mean, who would have thought we'd say this 3 months ago? But yeah, I think it'd be wrong to drop Hugo. I think he's done absolutely nothing wrong. His legs clearly aren't there anymore, which is the only downside you've got to really consider about him. But other than that, his link-up play has been good. He looks a threat. He looks like he's, threatening. He looks threatening, and he looks more threatening than Clark Harris has done all season. The only thing I'd say is that if Wilkes started instead of him, I wouldn't necessarily be annoyed, because I think he is a game changer, and we've seen it again and again this season that he's a game changer. But likewise, I'd rather him come on at half time if things are looking dire, because you don't want him to come in and injure himself again, because as Mick said, we're looking down, not up. So, you don't want to find yourself 5 games, a 5-game losing streak and find yourself fighting at the bottom, because I don't think we'll have the guile to get back up. So yeah, I'd put him on at half time if things are looking ropey. But yeah, I think Nombe and Hugo probably both deserve a start. Deserve is maybe a bit far, but they've not done anything to warrant a place on the bench, as far as I'd say. Other than that, though, you're looking at 4 other strikers on the bench, I should say. But yeah, as you say, Green and Wilkes are both can be wingers. So
yeah. Mr. Evans said in a press interview that he's got to manage Hugo's minutes because he hasn't played a lot.
As opposed to managing Johnson Clark Harris's minutes, who haven't played a lot.
Yeah, that's a concern.
Like Wilkes, who haven't played a lot.
I mean, he hadn't played for a week, Hugo. He played Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday. Can you imagine if he now doesn't play with a week's break because he needs a rest? It just blow my mind. But let's see what happens. Yeah,
he hasn't made that decision as yet that we're aware of. So let's hold the fire with that.
Yeah, I think the Cam Humphreys one is an issue if he is unavailable, because because Liam Kelly's also not available. We haven't got anybody else to play in that position, the kind of anchor of the midfield. So if he isn't fit, that's a problem potentially. Or maybe Anzu can play there. Maybe, I don't know.
But remember, we needed another striker. So
correct.
We've only got ourselves to blame here. Who could have foreseen this?
I know, it's mad. It's mad. Right. We'll give a plug for the scout report is out tomorrow. That's out early morning time. We spoke to Andy from Red All Over. So you can watch that. My hair magically grows back for that episode as well. It's amazing. So make sure you check that out if you want to see some magic. So yeah, check that out because Andy's great. And if you haven't watched Red All Over stuff, I went and did their show for them, which was really, really fun. The guys at Red All Over are fantastic, so go check out their stuff as well. We are now going to move over to the Prediction League because people say there's nothing to play for this season. There is so much to play for this season. It is ridiculous. We had 2 people pick up full points last week. We had a 3-way tie at the top of the league. It's now a 2-way tie at the top.
No.
Mick and Joy go top of the league with an addition of 3 points. Tom's sitting just 3 points back. Danny also picked up a point last week as well. Danny was the only other one to pick up a point last week. Kev and Ben did not. Ben was so close. Ben was a penalty away from picking up his first 3 points of the season. So that was devastating for Ben. He was more he'd prefer us to draw than win. No, Ben his league position. Right. I don't have Ben's prediction yet because he is an inconsiderate person. But hopefully I will get that before Saturday. I think he's going to the game Saturday, so I'll get that Saturday if needs be. We have Joy, who has gone for 2-1 to Rotherham. Kev has obviously gone for 3-0 to Rotherham. Danny has gone 2-1 to Barnsley. Tom, you are now going to take us and you're going to tell us what the score is going to be so you can find your way back to the joint top of the table.
Yeah, I just want to say that apart from that penalty as well, I would be top by myself. So
you would be. You would. Do you want an apology from EFL? Is that what you're trying to get to?
I just want to say that if that belt doesn't end up with me, then I will be having words with PGMLO because it's not. It's kind of. It matters a lot to me. Okay. I'm gonna go for the same result I said on Saturday. I'm going for a very dry 1-1.
Fair enough, Mick. You
Yes.
are joint top. You didn't lose your spot. You were so close to losing your spot for the first time this season.
I know.
Like a champion does in the 90s, something minutes.
Yeah, exactly. What champions do.
Badly all game and just dragged it out of fire at 96 minute, as you do. You see, it's the sign of a champion. I'm going to go 2-0 Barnsley.
Repeat. You're going to go repeat.
Yeah.
For the Barnsley from the original fixture. Okay, fair enough. John S. thinks similar. He says 3-0 to Barnsley. Kelly Wilson says 2-1 to the Millers. Travelling Brian says 2-1 to Barnsley. Mike Hunt says 1-0. Steve says 1-1. Fisherman Sid says 2-2. Chris Page says 1-0 to Barnsley. Paul Riggers says an absolute dire 0-0 or 1-1. Ian Barnes said a totally unexpected 4-1 to Rotherham United, which would be unexpected, absolutely. Matt Miller says 1-1. Harry says we're going to win 1-0. UQ user says 3-1 to us. Terry Phillips says 2-1. Bricktop says 2-4 to Barnsley. And Richard 1-2 to Barnsley. Chris Tether says 1-1. There we go. Are we any more enthused for this game? Does it feel any bigger since we started, or we're still not?
Yeah, because now I know I've got more to play for.
Yeah. You know when it gets to like the third last game of season and we're trying to talk up Wigan away, this prediction league is going to be the only thing we've got to try and big up the season.
The only thing I've got going for me in this moment in time. Honestly,
Send
I was
help.
devastated. I wasn't even devastated that we lost. I was devastated I lost.
I'm glad to see this prediction league's brought out the competition here, everybody. I like that. Bricktop asking, is it a sellout? I assume it's going to be, but I haven't seen anything to suggest it is. I assume Barnsley are going to bring a lot because it's a local derby. Not a particularly fierce local derby. I was speaking to Andy Mick on the Red All Over, and he used to say that the Rotherham Barnsley was a really big derby, and everybody hated each other. Was that within your memory?
Yeah. I never really got involved in that, to be honest. It was never a big thing for me, but I know it was for a lot of. But we used to play Barnsley and Rotherham used to play each other regularly. Yeah, it was a far more regular occurrence than playing the Pigs or United for us. So yeah, it did used to be, but I think that's kind of died a little bit over recent years because Barnsley have been up above us for quite a long time, really. It's only just sort of relatively recently they've dropped back down here. So yeah, it did used to be, but not anymore.
Fair enough. We have not beaten Barnsley in a competitive game since 1982. A very, 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 very bad record. But that will change. We've beaten a few friendlies at New York Stadium. One of the first games at New York Stadium. I think we beat 4 or 5-0 in a friendly as well, going into one season. So hopefully we can get something nice on Saturday. Lunchtime, remember? Lunchtime kickoff. Ref watch is Ollie Yates. He's only refereed us twice before. The last time he refereed us was the FA Cup win against Stockport in 2021 when Michael Smith scored the only goal. Have no memories of the referee on that day. Steve Evans has already said that he wants a strong referee for the weekend. I'm not sure how the PGML feel about talking about referees before the game. But, by the way, he said I understand the apology for the Birmingham game and I understand the Reading game. He said we had an apology in the Shrewsbury game and an apology in the Blackpool game. And I can't remember any incidents in those 2 games which were contentious.
No.
He said them twice. He said there were a handball in the Blackpool game. And I can't remember anything. It's obviously not lying, because why would he lie about that? But it just...
Oh, I do remember that, but it looked very soft. It was towards the end, and it involved Jules. I can't remember if he headed it down or something like that. In the Blackpool game, in the Shrewsbury game, I've got no clue.
No.
Maybe I'm making
a handball for the Shrewsbury goal. I can't remember that. I can't remember handball. Or am I thinking? I'm thinking of.
The foul on a Dolphin, probably. That's what he's probably crying about.
That were an apology for that. Jeez, the game has gone soft because that was never a foul.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember. There was a handball, but I think that was the Bolton game. I'm thinking of that. There was a handball in the build-up. Anyway, I can't remember. But apparently we've gotten some apologies. They should get a wall of apologies up in the next day.
The wall of apologies.
Wall of apologies. Right, is there anything else we need to mention? Because we've gone on for I'm amazed we've got an hour and 7 minutes out of this.
Nah.
Cracking. Thank you all for being with us. Make sure you have subscribed if you haven't done so already. And make sure you give the video a thumbs up as well, as that really helps the show. Like I said, the scouting report is up tomorrow from the guys at Red All Over, so check that out as well. We will be back for the instant reaction Saturday evening. Saturday afternoon because it's nearly kickoff. So hope we will have either a very happy South Yorkshire derby to talk about. Well, it could be a boring one or a bad one. We'll wait and see what happens with that. And then we'll be back for the full review show. Sorry, it's Sunday evening live on YouTube at 8 o'clock as normal. Make sure you join us back then. Mick, thank you very much for being with us. It's been fun.
We've been here.
We've been here. We have been here.
Yeah.
And Tom, appreciate you being with us, mate. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, it's been nice talking to 2 Micks today, with the hair.
One of these is through choice, though. That's the slight.
Yes, that's me.
Thank you all for being with us. We will see you all next time. And as always, up the Millers.
Up the Millers.
Up the Millers.
I think I always made the comment that once a Miller, always a Miller.
Ravel, ambitious, but brilliant! I don't believe it! I swear I do not believe it! Good Evans, he's done it again. Another promotion for the big man.
I've got 12 bottles of champagne in my office and we're going to drink them all night.